Here we go. Alrighty, cool. So before I do anything, I want to show you guys a post that I put on my page a while ago. I want to share this with you. And the presentation that I've put together, it's something that I've shown before to my powerlifting crew inside CJC. However, I want to make it a little bit more accessible to everybody, because I've had quite a few of you now ask me what happens at a powerlifting competition, what does it entail, what's it all about? So now you get to know. So I'm going to share this all with you tonight. For new people in the community and people that haven't heard me talk about this before. So anyway, the first one is I want to talk about why you shouldn't wait to do a powerlifting competition. So the first thing is people think that there's a competition standard, that there is a level of criteria that you must meet. The standard is the bar, actually. The standard is the bar, and then the collars on the side of the bar weigh 2.5 kilograms each. They're special competition collars, right? So if you can squat the bar to sufficient depth and follow the rules and the commands, you can compete. A lot of people say, I can't compete just yet because I'm not hitting the standard. I'm not strong enough. I like to think of it as an analogy where it's like, and I wouldn't say it's an excuse. I'd say it's just a lack of understanding and education, right? And that's why we're doing this. So saying that you'll wait to do a powerlifting competition because you're not strong enough is the same way as saying I'll wait to go to the gym because I don't look like I lift weights. Exactly the same thing. So it kind of boils down to you can never actually gain the experience until you get started. Okay. So there's no competition standard at all. There's no set criteria that you have to meet. Yeah, just to boil on that, like border on that, you can't gain experience if you don't start. I have had so many red lights, and I will dive into that in a little bit. But I've had so many red lights at competition. Nothing is perfect, but you can't learn from those mistakes unless you make them. And it's the same thing in the gym. I've made so many mistakes in my training over the years, that I am actively teaching you guys how to avoid my mistakes. You'll make friends, Sina, who's on this call with us now, he went and supported two of our guys in the community this weekend just gone. You'll make friends, you'll meet new people, you'll realize how supportive everyone is. They don't care if you've got 40 kilograms on the bar. They don't care if you've got 400 kilos on the bar. And believe me, people squat 400 kilos, but they don't give a toss what's on your bar, right? They're cheering you on regardless. That's what the community in powerlifting is. You'll learn to handle nerves like a pro, and you'll build crazy confidence. Now, this can be applied in the real world, in a real world setting, right? This is why I love powerlifting, because we were on a collaboration call last night with Hannah. Hannah is a paramedic, and she is exposed to a lot of very dark, very unnerving stuff. And you have to have very thick skin to have this kind of job that she has. Same with Ryan, another one of our clients. So he's a policeman, he's a detective. They see some messed up shit, you know? Powerlifting on a platform helps you handle your nerves and off the platform, in real life and on that platform. Because when you've got heavy weight in front of you and you have to execute, you cannot go into that set, you cannot go into that attempt freaking out because you will miss the lift. It's a mind game, right? But it can be applied in the real world. You'll never feel ready, and that's the whole point, right? So I speak to a ton of people every single day, and they tell, clients, people in the DMs, new followers, and people tell me, "Oh, I'm not ready," and I'm like, you will never feel ready. And that's exactly the point. You have to take a risk. You have to take that leap of faith, right? And I put something up on my in my reels today, and it was you don't have to do a comp in order to get strong. But if I see potential in you guys inside the program, I pitch the idea to you. And if you're down and you want to lock in and you want to do something even greater than what you're currently doing, have a bit of purpose, have something to work towards, we can most certainly go down that route. But you'll never feel ready, right? And it's like, when is the time? You know, when is that time going to be? You know? And just a border on that as well, you cannot do it by yourself. Powerlifting is not just because of a coach, but powerlifting is a community sport. It is not a solo sport. You cannot take on the world by yourself. Okay. And that goes for lifting, training, everything. You know, purpose. It gives every training session in the gym direction. That's what I just dived into, right? You're working towards something. You're actually locked into something that's greater than just banging out reps all the time. Okay. So you actually have something really cool to work towards for the first time. Okay. So that's a post I did a while back, and I quite liked it. Now I'm going to dive into my presentation and I'm going to chat a little bit more about this with you guys. Bosh. Before I do, I'm just going to come back here and see if people need letting in. Nope. Good little crowd tonight. I like this crowd. It's good. Cool. So, how does it run? So, a powerlifting competition is a one rep max sport. Okay. One rep, three lifts, squat, bench, and deadlift. That's all we're focused on. Okay. And you get 3 attempts per lift. So it's a long old day. So you're actually doing 9 reps. Okay. And that's spread out throughout the course of the day. Now, the idea is if it's your first competition, you want to come away with a total. You want to get your name on the board. And that's the whole point of not going crazy and like going in with the intention of hitting world records. Because respectfully, I've seen a lot of people go into their first comp thinking they're the absolute dog's bollocks. You know, a few weeks back, I was up at Nottingham and I did a novice competition and I was helping out. I was just loading up the bar, and so a lot of people come out, very, very strong youngsters, right? But they were jumping start commands. They weren't squatting to depth. They were letting the nerves get the better of them because they didn't have a coach. They just rocked up to see what they could do. And that's great. I'm kind of against it though, to be honest, because the idea behind a novice competition is that anybody can enter, you just don't leave with a total. Now, why would you do half a job? Why would you go in, have a shit first experience, and get all the red lights, come away thinking, oh man, you know, it sucks because you haven't got a handler, you haven't got a coach, you haven't done a proper peaking block, so competition peak to taper, then send it on the platform. You haven't done any of this. You just rock up and lift. And then you realize very quickly that training and comp are very separate. Okay. So there is a system. It's very different to the gym. So your best successful lift will count towards your total. So essentially, it is a competition, and you can either qualify for a bigger competition or you can increase your total and win because it's a comp, right? You lift in flights based on body weight. So I was actually on the phone this morning to a friend of mine who's based in Australia. He's a coach. His name is Critter. I would recommend that you give him a follow on Instagram. I'm going to actually write his name in the chat. So it's spelt like this. His name is Critter. Okay. He's a friend of mine and he's a very strong world champion powerlifter. He weighs under 66 kilos body weight. He has a 300 kilogram deadlift, which is well over 4 times body weight. I think it's 6, 12, 18. Yeah, so it's nearly 5 times body weight deadlift. And he weighs under 66 kilos. He's got a 300 kilo pull. I believe he squats 240 and he's got a bench press, which is up in the 140, 150s, I believe. Insanely strong. And he's under 66 kilos body weight. Okay. So the purpose of having different weight classes is that you can break records and you can set that personal total within that respective weight class. Very cool. You also have, and I'm probably jumping the gun a bit here because there are more slides. Um, we also have different age categories. Okay. So you have your sub juniors, which is like kids, right? Juniors, opens, and most of you guys are going to be opens. When you hit 40 years of age, you become an M1 master. And what that means is you're getting old. You become a master, right? Which sounds kind of cool. But masters goes M1, M2, M3, M4, M5, and it actually goes all the way up to M8, I believe. And this is people that lift 80 years plus, right? So going back to what I said at the beginning of the call, which is, oh, I can't compete because I can't hit a total. I can't deadlift this specific weight. Comparison is the thief of joy. You have 80-year-old people doing this sport, and they might just bench the bar. But fuck, it's kind of impressive, you know? Getting up there alone is a win, right? Attempts go in ascending of weight order. So you'd always start with the lowest weight. So attempt number one. So for instance, I would come out and squat 190 kilograms. Attempt number two, 205. Attempt number three, try and send 210. So it always goes up in ascending order. Okay. They don't want perfection from you. They literally just want effort and rule compliance. That's it. They just want to see that you can adhere to the competition's rules and standards. Cool. So there are commands. So speaking about rules and speaking about commands, this is why they are very, very important. So this photo here, this was from last November, I think, last November. And that is our head coach, our quartermaster Jens, doing one of his first competitions with us. And that is obviously some weirdo giving him the bench bar. Um, they're not going to judge you on your strength. They honestly do not care, right? It's impressive for you. It's impressive for the people watching. The judges do not care. They just judge your standards, like any sport, okay? So if you miss a command or if you fail that lift, right? Sorry, if you miss a command, you can fail the lift. And that's even if it flies up. So I've seen this happen before. I've seen somebody squat to depth, recover from the squat, and drive back up through the floor. And they go, yeah. And instead of enjoying the moment and waiting for a rack command, they've slammed it back into the rack. 3 red lights, no lift, unfortunately. And by that point, that person's pretty taxed because they're knackered. They've just done a 1 rep max attempt, right? So this is my advice for newbies going into their first competition with us, okay? You're strong enough already. Be patient, okay? Let's not rush, okay? And ironically, there's no power in powerlifting. It shouldn't be called powerlifting because power is speed, velocity, right? So a power sport is something like Olympic weightlifting. Unfortunately, we can't call powerlifting weightlifting, which is what it actually is, because weightlifting is already a thing and it's in the Olympics. But when you see these athletes doing clean and jerk and they do a snatch pull, boom, boom, and it goes above their head, right? That's power. A lot of strongman sports as well, like strongman, get it from A to B as quickly as possible, right? So a lot of strongman, there's a lot of power in that. Okay, it's kind of interesting. So squat commands. Okay, so this whole recording is for people that have a genuine interest in potentially competing one day, getting on a platform, right? And some of you are going to be doing this anyway. So here are our commands. Okay, so before I dive into those, let me see if we've had any latecomers. Master this October. Are you? No way. Oh, I thought you were a lot younger. There you go. Look at that. Doing well. Squat commands. All right, so they will not tell you to squat until your knees and your hips are locked. If you've got limp legs and your knees are not locked out, they'll let you chill there with heavy weight on your back. All right, they will only say squat once the chest is nice and high and your knees are locked out. Then you squat to depth. So your hip crease below the top of the knee joint. Okay. Sometimes, because I've seen some pretty high squats with white lights as well. Sometimes you can get away, depending on the judge as well, you can get away with parallel. Okay. Um, but traditionally it's hip crease below the top of the knee joint and you can spot it, right? I actually have tactics for this when I'm training somebody. If someone comes to see me for a technique session, there is tricks behind this. You can actually rub chalk along the hip joint, along the crease in the hip, and you can actually gauge if they're squatting to depth or not. Um, Believe me, I've seen people with really shit mobility squat to depth. It is entirely possible. Okay. Some people squat too much to depth. Some people can't hit depth. And one of the common causes behind, here we go, red lights, is cutting the depth. You know, when we've got heavy weight on our backs, sometimes people have fear that they're not going to recover from the squat. So they cut the depth because they're like, oh shit. And I bet a lot of us have done this in the gym as well, right? You know, I bet some of us, which is fine, have cut depth because they're worried that they're not going to be able to recover from the squat. Luckily, you're surrounded by very strong people that can help you. Okay, they spot you safely. So you squat to depth, hip crease below the top of the knee joint, and then you stand up, you recover, you rejoice, you celebrate the moment. Then they'll go rack. As soon as they say rack and they've completed the whole word that comes out of their mouth, then you rack. If they go rack and you're already halfway in, red lights. That was sassy, wasn't it? Red lights. So jumping the squat command, jumping the rack command. If that bar has any kind of downward motion, okay, any kind of downward motion, it's a red light. Okay. Um, Cutting depth, already mentioned that. And then, yeah, re-racking a little bit too early. Okay. So before I go any further, can you just, oh, here we go. What's the difference between powerlifting and power building? Power building, that's a great question. Power building is what some would call a hybrid style of training. So power building is a recognized style of training, which is a mixture of bodybuilding and powerlifting. So it's for somebody that their main focus is aesthetics, but they have that secondary goal of getting stronger. So power building is a fancy word for hypertrophy and strength building, basically. It's a combination of the words. And there are a few people, I guess, in this program that do power build as well, you know, but they might not necessarily compete. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Ellie. Guys, if you do have other questions, chuck them in the chat for me, please, because I'd love to know. And just chuck an I in the chat if you're actually following along and I'm not talking out my butt. And then I will continue. I'm on. Beautiful. So now we're going to talk about, no, skipped ahead there. Cool. So moving on to bench press commands and standards. Okay. So when you bench at competition, it's going to be very different to when you bench in the gym. Okay. There are traditionally three commands. Okay. So they will say bar loaded. Okay. You go out onto the platform. And sometimes, as you can see in this picture here, you'll have people that will hand out the bar to you. Okay. I'll give you a little lift off. All right. The reason for doing that, and I did touch on a video recently about this, is you want to focus on your setup. You want to keep your scapula retracted and down, okay? So scapula is retraction and depression, and at the same time, you have thoracic extension in your back, which is traditionally called an arch, okay? So you've got two separate things happening at the same time. Thoracic extension, the arch, okay, and scapular retraction, depression, okay? Once you learn to master those two things at the same time, your bench is going to skyrocket, okay? But on competition day, you factor in things like nerves, okay? And even the most high-level elite lifters on the planet still get nervous, okay? It's totally normal. When you come out to the platform, so they'll say bar loaded, come out to the platform, you have 60 seconds to complete your lift, okay? 60 seconds on the platform is a lifetime. It takes a long, long time, okay? So the last thing you want to do is rush, okay? Because then it's like all of your prep in the gym has just gone flying out the window, okay? So get yourself set up on the bench exactly the same way you do at comp, in training, sorry. Come out, get on the bench. They are going to be looking, so the judges are going to be looking to see that your elbows are locked, okay? As soon as your elbows are locked and your arms are straight, the center ref will initiate a start command. So they'll go start, okay? You need to bring that bar down so it's in contact with the chest, okay? So no gym group, reduced range of motion, few inches off the chest, okay? It needs to touch the chest, and that bar needs to be motionless on the chest. Now, what that means is they don't want you to double dip it. They don't want you to bounce it like a bouncy castle, okay? They need to see that it is paused, motionless on the chest, okay? From there, they're going to give a press command. Press. Easy, all right? You then have to drive straight up so that your elbows are fully locked, okay? From there, same thing. Don't rush back into the rack. Don't lob it back. Enjoy the moment. You got the attempt. You just PB'd. You just made your mum and dad proud. Everyone's cheering you on at home or in the crowd, wherever they are. Enjoy the moment. Don't fling it back. Wait for rack. Then chuck it into the rack, okay? Then you've done it. Then you've got your 3 white lights, okay? Hope that's making sense so far, guys. Your non-negotiables, okay? Non-negotiables, head, shoulders, glutes on the bench. They must be on the bench at all times, okay? If you press, okay, and your head, so if you press and your head, shoulders, or glutes come off the bench, okay, and you're not making contact, then you will get a red light. Your feet need to remain lateral. They cannot shift around. That's also for safety as well, that you don't want your feet flying up out the air, right? So we're pressing our heels into the ground, driving up, okay? But our feet need to remain in position, all right? Head, sometimes, I see this all the time at comp, people press and the head comes off the bench, instant red light, okay? Another trick that people do, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, is they chalk bums, right? They put chalk on an athlete's bum because they think it's going to grip the bench a bit more. However, when your glutes come off of that bench, it's very noticeable when you've got big white chalk marks on your bum. So I tend to steer clear of chalking people's butts because you don't want those red lights. And I don't want to be responsible for your red lights as well. That's basically it for bench. And what's really funny is the bench is the most technical lift out of the 3. It's the toughest to learn. And it's actually, this is really interesting, actually. If you're doing any kind of weight cut for a specific weight class, and I'll dive into this in a bit because I don't want you guys focusing on weight class when you do your first comp. It's bullshit. But when you are cutting weight, the first thing that you will notice that flops during your training is bench. Bench every time. Okay. And that's not me just spewing mumbo jumbo. This is a fact. Okay. If you cut weight, your bench will suffer every time. Lovely. Let's check in on the chat. Yes. Cool. Okie dokie. So this is the easiest. This is the easiest, but it's also the easiest to fuck up as well. So, deadlift. Okay. There's only one command. It's down. All right. So I've seen people come out to the platform before, they yell bar loaded, and then the athlete will come out, or the competitor will come out, and they will stand looking at the bar, looking at the judge, looking at the bar, looking at the judge, and they're like, do I go? And the judge is just waiting. It's not their fault you didn't read the rule book. So you just have to wait for down. And when are they going to say down? Well, when the bar is locked out in the top position. You wouldn't get up to the bar and they go down because it's not even off the floor yet, right? It's just logic. So you get up to the bar, you got your 60 seconds, okay? The only requirements here are that you do not hitch that bar or do what's called lapping, which is putting the bar on your lap, okay? So that bar needs to get from A to B, okay? That's all it needs to do. It needs to get from A to B. So I'm going to say that one more time, okay? The deadlift bar needs to get from A to B, okay? We do not do any hitching or any kind of lapping. We do not rest that bar on our quads, okay? This is powerlifting, not strongman. You can get away with it in strongman. That's fine. But at a powerlifting competition, if your quads are used to hitch or ramp that bar up the body, okay, they'll give you a red light. You see a lot of people do these massive lean backs, right? And try to feed their hips through to the bar. That's a technical error. That's a technique error. Okay. And at competition, it's not allowed. So it's just A to B, right? When you get to the top of the lift, okay, they're going to go down. Because as I explained earlier on, that's the only command. They're not going to say down when you're staring at the bar and it hasn't even left the floor yet. Okay. So it is the most intense lift at times. So when you have locked out the bar, enjoy the moment, celebrate. They'll go down. You have to then control it to the floor. Okay. There's no dumping of the bar. Okay. You have to show that you can fully control that bar to the floor. And we're not talking about a freaking 5-second eccentric. Okay. We're not doing an RDL. Okay. They just want to show that you're still gripping it. You can control it back to the floor. Okay. Now your knees need to be locked. All right. That's something they caught me on my last competition. Your knees have to be locked at the top. Okay. They will watch your knees like hawks. Okay. Your hips need to be fed through to the bar, shoulders locked back. Okay. And then that's it. That's deadlift. Pretty simple, right? Cool. What equipment is allowed at competition? Okay, so I've been in positions before where people have rocked up to comps and they haven't got the right gear. And luckily, because I'm such a lovely coach, I always bring backups and I always bring spares with me. Okay. If you're doing a full power competition, all right, and if it's a qualifying event as well, they don't really kit check you at the weigh-in. Okay, they don't do that. They don't bother. They know you're a beginner. Okay. If anything, if they're a good ref, they'll call you up on it on the platform, or they'll just give you a little nudge before you go out, and they'll say, "Oh, mate, have you got deadlift socks, or do you have your knee sleeves?" You know, they'll give you a little nudge before you go out. Okay. But for classic raw lifters, okay, typically you would wear a lifting belt. Belt isn't mandatory. You don't have to wear a lifting belt. Okay, people wear it because you can lift heavier. It's an advantage, but you don't have to wear it. Okay, the strongest raw deadlifter in the world, I believe his name is Konstantinos, and he raw dogged 420 kilograms off the ground, no belt. Imagine that, 420 kilos, all right? Are we all still here? Yeah. Cool. 420 kilos off the ground with no belt. Madness, right? So you don't need a belt, but if you train in it, use it on the day. If you want to lift heavier, use it on the day. Knee sleeves. If you're competing full power, okay, and classic raw, you need knee sleeves. You do need to come out wearing those, okay? Not wraps though, okay? Now, with wrist wraps, you don't have to wear those. Some people prefer not to. But again, it's an advantage because if you find that your wrist goes into extension a lot of the time, okay, or a lot of flexion, right, you might want to wear a wrist wrap so you can stack your joints up nicely because you've got the radius, the ulnar, you want to build that bracket, okay, and stack your joints. Okay, so wrist wraps help a lot of people, and it's getting used to the equipment. Like some people prefer stiff wraps, people that squat incredibly heavy weights. My friend Mason, he's a brilliant coach, brilliant powerlifter, squats 427.5 kilos, insane amount of weight on your back. He probably wears stiff wraps. I prefer flexible ones, and these are a little bit stretchier. Personally, I train in those. But if I'm doing lighter weights on my bench press, I don't bother using wrist wraps. Same applies for my belt as well. It's good to use this kind of kit at heavier weights. It's also a big mental confidence boost as well. You know, it's like you're putting on a suit of armor. That's how I like to frame it. But lighter weights, we want to focus on engaging our rectus abdominis, which is the abdominal muscles, your abs, right? Okay, we want to engage these, learn how to create a proper brace. We don't want to rely on the kit all the time. It's there to support, it's not there to replace. Okay, singlet. Everyone needs to wear a singlet. It's not everyone's bag. And this is actually one of the main reasons people don't compete in powerlifting because they don't want to put on a singlet. And it's like, you want to do a comp, but you don't want to wear a singlet. You know what I say? Tough shit. Learn to like it. Train in it. Get used to it. If you want to do a comp, they will not let you on a platform unless you're wearing a singlet. And for a lot of people, it is a little bit intimidating, but that's my method. Treat it like a suit of armor. All right? Everyone else is wearing it. It's not just you. And believe me, no one's looking at your junk. Okay? No one cares. All right? It's just part of the competition equipment. Everyone wears it. T-shirt, can't be compression shirt. Okay? Cotton shirt like this, totally acceptable. Wouldn't recommend wearing jewelry because it's just dangerous. You know, what happens if that catches on a bar? Like what if you're doing a bench press, bar goes up a little high, catches on that, you know? Same thing with a squat, okay? I hear this quite a lot as well. Long socks, okay? Deadlift socks. Do not just turn up in a normal pair of socks that you've decided to stretch and pull up a little bit, okay? No long stockings, all right? They want to see that you can actually adhere to the equipment and not cut corners, all right? So they need to be deadlift socks, which are approved by that federation. And most brands are. Like, you know, I say to people, go on Strength Shop. I have a discount code for it. Go on Strength Shop. You get some wicked gear, it's super cheap, and it will last you as well, you know? Big one from me, if you wouldn't train in it, don't debut it on competition day. Okay? What I mean by that is if you have done your entire prep in flats, like your shoes, okay? I think that's my next slide. There you go. If you've done your entire competition prep in, see how I'm wearing here, flats, okay? When you get to competition day, don't wear heel elevated squat shoes. You'll fly forward. Your entire squat pattern is going to be disrupted, right? So if you train in the gym using that equipment, use it at comp. Don't switch shoes last minute, okay? I actually go one step further and I remove the insoles from these shoes and I still deadlift in them to this day. I was using them earlier on today. I remove the insoles because I want my feet to be as close to the floor as absolutely possible, but still grippy. Okay, so shoes that are allowed, okay? Heeled shoes are okay. Squat shoes, they're absolutely fine. Okay, I have got the biggest pet peeve, my biggest ick is these banana running shoes. I cannot stand them. They're just shit in general. They're crap to train in. You have no center of mass. You have no pressure through the ball of your foot. You can't spread your feet. If you're a sumo deadlifter, you have a deficit because it compresses into the rubber in the bottom of that shoe. You can't dig your big toes into the floor and then spread the floor. Big pet hate of mine. So if you got banana shoes and you want to go to competition, ditch them as soon as possible. Okay. The equipment that you wear is and the shoes that you wear. Okay. Take pride in it. Okay. It's really important we take pride in it. Okay. Because you're debuting it on a platform. This is what you're wearing. You should really look after the equipment and respect what you're squatting in, what you're benching in. It's important. So heel shoes are fine. Flats are okay. I did my very, very first competition in a pair of Converse, because they're flat. Mixed, okay, let's dive a bit into what you'd benefit from. So depending on the lifter, okay, and depending on your range of motion, okay, some people squat in heel elevated squat shoes. Okay. If you've got really good mobility, you don't really need those. you know. And I think people see other people online using squat shoes and they think, I need those. Well, you might not need them. And if that's the case and you're a bit unsure, check in with me. I'll get you to do a body weight squat. I'll be able to tell you straight away if you need them or not. Right? Flats. Flats are very, very good if they have an incredible amount of grip on the bottom of them. They're very good for squats. Okay, but they take getting used to lighter loads. Okay, very, very good for deadlifting. And I said down here, look, deadlift slippers, flats, you want to be as close to that floor as absolutely possible. Okay, as close as you can to the floor, no deficit, like next to no deficit. Like a lot of people wear, I think they're called like barefoot shoes, right? There is if anyone is wondering, the brand that I absolutely swear by is called Avancus. I'm gonna chuck it in the chat. Brilliant brand. If you want to invest, if you've got like 70 quid, P&P, postage and packaging, and you want to invest in a decent pair of lifting shoes, this is a no-brainer. These guys won't let you down. And you'll notice a massive difference as well. But I would recommend doing half a size down with Avancus because the toe spread is quite wide. So if you're not used to a wide toe spread, go down half a size. The reason deadlift socks need to cover your shins is because it's mostly so that you don't come away with bloody shins. You should get in the habit of wearing either deadlift socks or shin guards when you deadlift, because the idea is you want to keep as close to the bar as possible without it drifting away, because you don't want to develop any bad habits during your training. Okay. In terms of grip, mixed grip is allowed, hook grip is allowed. I currently do both, but my preference now is hook because I have a slight imbalance and I get a greater force production through the floor with no rotational torque of my pelvis. Okay. So it's just get it from A to B in the most efficient and precise way possible. So I don't mix grip anymore. However, I swear by mixed grip. I've used it for years. And it actually got me up to a 255 deadlift, so it's not all that bad. The only thing you cannot use is straps. Okay. But you can use them in training if you're doing high volume rep work and you don't want grip to be the limiting factor of your deadlift. Cool. This is actually an example of how you can fuck up a lift. Okay. So slow is smooth, smooth is white lights. That's what I like to say. Slow is smooth, smooth is white lights. So take your time with it. Okay. Focus on the setup. Now, the thing that let me down here is the shoes I was wearing. And this is going back to what I said, the equipment that you lift in is so important at competition. Because you watch my left foot. Let me run the video. I'd also like to just add, they do announce me as Captain Jack at competition, and I think it's a sick flex because who else has that, right? It's pretty cool. So look at those shoes. I'm wearing, those are really worn down, battered Air Jordans, right? Now, watch this left leg. Watch that foot. Gone. See the little shimmy there? Right? So from here, I can bring it up actually. There you go. Okay. Bar is controlled to the chest, probably a fraction too high as well. And then had a lot of power and leg drive going up. Okay, and that left foot is sliding out of position. See? And that was my mistake that I made there. So rushing commands, locking out early, then softening, feet moving on your bench, letting nerves speed you up as well. Like people, uh, some people do really well under pressure and execute perfectly. Some people mess up a lot under pressure. Okay, but that is a skill that takes time to learn as well. So not listening for that center ref. Okay, you got to keep your ears sharp. You need to listen to what they're saying. Some people are hard of hearing, right? And what you can do, because they're really good with this sort of stuff, if one of you guys is hard of hearing, or I've seen like at this exact same gym, I've seen someone that was deaf and they couldn't hear the commands properly. So what do? You ask them to turn that bloody music down. You can make requests like that. If it's too much noise and it's going to fuck your lift up, you can request to have that song switched down a little bit so you can focus. Absolutely fine. Okay, right. We watched enough of that. This is James Risk, and he is still on the call. Where's my little James Risk? Yeah, he is indeed. Lost audio to take a call now. Can't bloody figure it out. Um, yeah, cool. Okay, attempt selection, huge for confidence, all right? So this is very, very, very important, okay? Your openers need to be something that you can hit for like 3 to 5 reps on a good or a bad day. So imagine that you've gone to the gym and you're recovering from a cold and your energy levels aren't there. Okay. You're, I'm gonna film this bit for myself actually because it's really important. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. So this is what we're working on now. Wonderful. Nice. Okay, so from the top, attempt selection at competition, okay? Oh, what have I done there? Bosh. Your attempt selection, okay, huge for your confidence. Your openers need to be something that you can hit for 3 to 5 reps on a good or a bad day. Okay, so you've gone to the gym, you're recovering from a cold, energy levels aren't there. Okay, you need to be able to open that squat, that bench, that deadlift with something you can hit for 3 to 5 reps on a good or a bad day. Okay, this is the build your confidence. This is your primer. That's your confidence booster. Okay. I have a strategy for an absolute beginner where if you want to remove the stress and the pressure from the warm-up room and getting that last warm-up in before they yell bar loaded, because maybe you look at the screen and you see that you're the first in the flight or third in the flight. Now you're shitting yourself because you haven't warmed up correctly. Well, why don't you make your first attempt your final warm-up? Okay, get on the board. Okay, fix a total for the day. Want to leave the day with a total. Okay, so you can make your last warm up your first attempt. Then you can take a slightly bigger jump. Okay, now the general rule of thumb. Okay, your first attempt needs to be a confidence builder. All right, now that we've done that and we've got ourselves on the board, second attempt. Okay, you want to match your gym PB or get a small competition PB as well. Okay. And traditionally speaking, we're thinking like 92 to 95% of your 1 RM. Okay. Now, third attempt, this is when we earn the right to get aggressive. This is when we earn the right to add weight to the bar. All right. You've had 3 white lights on both of those attempts. Now you can have a little bit of fun. Okay. All right, cool. So competition day, the flow. All right. I'm just gonna quickly, guys, I'm gonna see if Mikey needs letting back in this meeting. Is he back in? Okay, cool. No more taking calls, please, Mr. Mikey, because I can't keep checking in on people. Good man. Cool. Competition day flow. What to expect. Okay. So weigh-ins. Now, there's a lot of different strategies behind weigh-ins, okay? Should I weigh in 24 hours before? Should I weigh in on the day? Should I weigh in the AM or the PM? And usually they have an AM or a PM slot that you can weigh in, okay? And that's 24 hours before competition. If you go to a national level competition, it has to strictly be 24 hours before. You cannot weigh in on the day. There are pros and cons to this, okay? So when you weigh in 24 hours before, okay, you've got that time window where you can really prioritize hydration, rest, eat lots of great comfort foods that you're used to. Okay. And the word I like to use here is relatability. Okay. Is that the word I like to use? Something that you have quite a lot. Okay. So, for instance, at my last comp, I had a KFC. Okay. There's not really much you can do in that short window. Okay. However, if you've done a few comps and you don't mind weighing in on the day, maybe you've traveled a little bit of distance, maybe you can't actually get to the weigh-in the day before. If you want to weigh in on the day, it's also absolutely fine. However, you're now going to be stressed, okay? Because you haven't got that window where you can eat food, relax a little bit, okay? It all depends on what time your flight starts, what time you get on the platform and start lifting. Okay. Now, there is a pro, and there's a con. It can feel like just another day of lifting. Okay. It can feel like just another heavy training session, right? That's what happens if you weigh in on the day. You can go in with that mentality of, oh, it's just another heavy weightlifting day. And that works for some people. But at the same time, I respectfully disagree. I think that the two need to be treated as separate. You need that competition mentality, and then you have your training mentality. Okay. And when you get to comp, you don't want to be all relaxed, you know? To an extent, you want to be relaxed, but you really want to learn how to switch on, okay, at the very last minute when it actually counts, right? So you can treat it as another heavy lifting day, okay? Or you can treat it as this is fucking competition. I'm here to execute. I'm getting into that athlete's mentality, right? Previously to this, I've eaten lots of food, I've had lots of water, I've been to the loo, my stomach feels great, my digestive tract is awesome. I've had 8 hours sleep, solid, right? All of these things you can prioritize, which are going to help you with competition on the day. Equipment check. Now, they don't really do this a lot at qualifying events because they know that you're beginners. But on the day, as I said earlier, they'll probably just bring you up on a few things. And they'll say, oh, you've got to change your socks or where are your knee sleeves, you know? If you break a world record or a British record, if you break any kind of record, the referee will come up to the platform and they will check your kit that you are currently wearing. So normally that just means see them just check over the singlets, give you a little pat down, make sure that you're not, carrying anything that's gonna, give you an advantage over somebody else, putting secret blocks or like supports in your suit, which you never see. It's ridiculous. And then they hold your arm up and they say, British record, woo. Rack heights. So during the weigh-in period, okay, you have to do your rack heights. Now that's obviously for just squat and bench, all right? What that means is you have to get comfortable with the equipment, okay? So a lot of these competitions use what is called a monolift, okay, which is an automatic squat rack where you stand up, there's like a winch, there's a handle, and then someone pulls it out and the rack actually moves. Okay. You need to get used to using the equipment at comp. So take your time on it, chuck a couple of plates on either side. And you want to make sure you've got at least an inch of clearance when you unrack the bar. Okay. So this is for squat, guys. So if you squat, if you stand up under the rack and you're clearing it with loads of room, it needs to be a bit higher because we don't want to pop the hips and knees and use energy standing up. Okay. So give it like an inch, but just remember that when you have more weight stacked on that bar, your back is going to compress. So you're actually going to lose a bit of clearance room on the rack. Okay. So you don't want to clip it when you come out because I don't know if you guys have ever done this before. I definitely have done it many times. The rack height is too high. You unrack, you walk back, you clip it, and the bar's all over the place. Now you feel like you're just spinning the bar on your back. It's terrifying, right? And it really throws you off. So just remember, what I like to do is stack a couple of plates either side. All right. And then that way, when you unrack, you've got a serious amount of clearance, about an inch and a bit, and then you can walk the bar back without tapping the rack. Okay. Same applies for bench, except what you want to do is unrack without sending your arm into a protracted state. Okay. So when you are unracking a bar for bench or someone's passing it out to you, your job is scapula back. Okay. Back and down, retraction, depression. Okay. You need to be able to unrack with your arms locked, but this is still pinned back. What we don't want is to throw that out of position. Okay. Because the rack height is too high. Okay. So that is for rack heights. Warm-up room, there is a warm-up room at every comp. This is an example of one right here. Then we have your attempts. So you need to give your attempts to the person in charge of admin on that day, and you write it down on a little slip of paper. You can change your attempts. They usually give a time frame where there's like a 5-minute window. So I believe it's like 10 minutes before the flight. They'll give you a 5-minute warning and they'll say 5 minutes left to change your attempts. Then when the clock gets down to 5 minutes, they say no more changes to attempts. So you can do that. You can change your attempts. If you squat, rack, go over to the table, give them your next attempt, so attempt number 2. If you walk away and suddenly you think, shit, I don't think I could do that. I want to change it. I want to play it safe. As long as you nip back over there quickly, you can go and say to them, guys, do you mind if I actually peg it down? Do you mind if I do a slightly smaller weight and do this instead? And they'll be pretty fine with that as well. Long waits between lifts. Yeah, so it depends on the flight. So what you can see here, right? This is a lot of people. Okay. So just to do the maths, okay, I've got my calculator here. Let's say on average, there's 15 lifters in one flight. Okay. Now, times that by 3 lifts, that's 45 lifts, okay, for one flight. Okay, times that by squat, bench, and deadlift over the course of the day. It's 135 lifts. Okay, it's a lot of lifting. So there are very long waits sometimes in between lifts, but it does depend on the size of the flight. And it's quite funny. So on the London Underground, I know some of us aren't like based in central London, but on the London Underground, sometimes they say this train is paused here to regulate the service. And I've been at powerlifting comps before where the flight is so short that they have paused it briefly to regulate the service, quite literally, and give longer break. But that's actually for the athlete's benefit, right? It's so that they can have a little bit more of a rest break. Because if you go bang a 200-kilo squat, you don't want it to reset again. You're like, oh shit, turn again, you know? So just make sure that everyone's in the group. It's all right, Mikey. So chaos is around you, but it doesn't mean chaos is in you. Okay. This goes back to a point that I've made recently, and it's a subject that I'm going to touch on a little bit more. Powerlifting is a mental sport as well as a physical one. It's actually more mental, in all honesty. Why are you angry? You don't have to be angry. Like, why are you an angry lifter? That's what we have to assess. So I have clients that get really ramped up, like really aggressive. Okay. And then they go onto the platform and they execute, and like they will get the lift or they won't. But everybody has a different level of what's called psychological arousal. Okay. I would reframe it. Okay. Think about this, right? You're all in this, and I'm saying this for your benefit as well, guys, by the way. You're all in this community. You're part of something bigger. you're all into lifting, learning how to be more pirate, becoming these awesome lifters, right? Getting stronger together. Okay. Wouldn't it be lovely to put all the anger and the rage in the past where it belongs, you know? So we don't carry it on later on in life, all right? I believe there is a very big difference between anger and acting on emotion as opposed to acting on execution. Over on one side, you have emotion. Over on one side, you have execution, right? Not a lot of people can lift on emotion. You will fuck it up, okay? Some of the best lifters in the world execute, all right? Get rid of it, okay? Do all your thinking and all of your, your mental battle away from the platform. Do not bring it onto the platform, okay? You've got to be focused. That's my biggest advice to you guys, okay? Let's not live in anger. Let's live in focus, okay? Final message. I love that photo. Big takeaways from this, okay? You're all strong enough. And if you stick with something for long enough, you will continue to get even more stronger, okay? This is about breaking down barriers, all right? This is about building your work capacity, all right? And people really struggle with work capacity when they start lifting, okay? The amount of times I've seen people, that are very new to lifting, they've never previously lifted before, and they have a little niggle, or they have a sore, or they have an ache, or a little tweak, and we don't disregard it. But 9 times out of 10, it's not an injury, you know? 9 times out of 10, we need to actually assess it together, work through it, okay? And it's your body actually working for a change and actually pushing itself a bit, okay? Big difference between sharp, good pain and bad pain. Bad pain is sharp, okay? If something's sharp, I send you to a physio. That's it, straight away. You're off to a physio. If you're sore, if you have DOMS, if something feels really difficult, you message your coach and you ask, can we reduce the amount of volume? Feeling pretty knackered, or that felt like the sweet spot. I'm pretty dommy, but building up my work capacity, building up my confidence. Okay. A little bit of give, a little bit of get. Okay. But you are strong enough. Okay. Commands are a skill. So this is something that we learn as we do more and more and more and more comps. Okay. Commands are an absolute skill. I've never actually skipped a command. There was one time I came close, and it's because the ref called start on the bench, but it was like start, start, you know. I couldn't hear the guy. So quiet, what? So most of the time they'll go start, right? So learning commands are a skill, and we don't want to miss them, okay? They do reward your composure, and this is why I love coaching powerlifting, because it will have a ripple effect over into your real-time worlds, into your life. You'll feel more confident. You will stand up tall in a room. You will command that room as a figure of authority in your own bracket because you've done a powerlifting competition, and stepping on the platform is shit scary for the first time, but you did it. All right. And the biggest takeaway is you're not doing it by yourself. So, I have Hannah, one of my lifters. You all know her. She chats in the crew chat. She's coming along with us. In fact, she's right here. There she is. She's coming along to actually help me with loading up the bar for Marianne, who is competing in 4 weeks' time in Nottingham. And it's going to be a really sick day. They have fireworks that go off and sparklers, and it's a massive party. So it's going to be really fun. And everyone's cheering your name. And then the bar doesn't care if you're nervous, earn the right to add weight to the bar, give no quarter, which is a pirate term for no mercy. Just absolutely go for it. Most importantly, have fun. That's what we're here to do. Training morale is the utmost importance. Have fun, have a blast, leave with a total, do a ton more competitions. Okay. And that concludes my powerlifting presentation. I am going to stop sharing that now. Dun, dun, dun. Cool. If you guys can bear with me for 3 minutes, there is a video I want to show you as well, and it's from another buddy of mine in Australia. And he posted something this morning, and I'm so annoyed actually because he beat me to it. I really wanted to do a video on this, but I think you guys will get a little bit of value from this as well. Um, so let me share my screen again, sorry, and I want to show you guys. It highlights. It's a very cool reel, and I suggest that you go follow him. I'm gonna chuck his name in there as well. His name is Sean McKinroy. I think I spelled that right. Kinroy, I believe. This guy has got like a 300 plus kilo squat with no knee sleeves, just naked knees, just raw dogging that bar, and it is insane. He's probably one of the best squatters I've ever seen because he just doesn't use sleeves. It's nuts. And he goes ask the grass. But he did a presentation, not a presentation, a reel on the importance of get out on the importance of filming your sets and why you should film your sets, okay? So I'm going to show you guys now. Okay. Who wants to see it? Chuck a yes in the chat so I can see you switched on. Go on, put a yes. Anyone want to watch it? Go on, 3 minutes out of your life. Go on. Yes, good, good. Stay switched on. Lovely. 3 minutes of your life, then I'll let you have your evening back. Okay, cool. This is really important, guys. Okay, so his name is Sean. I think I spelled right. McKinroy. Wicked dude. He trains his granny. No, his mum. Right. So get confident lifting heavy. Okay. This is about objective and subjective lifting and filming your sets.
Good. Nice.
Heavy.
It's really not. If I was to show you this video back, you'll see how easily it moves.
Why do I feel so out of breath then?
Because it's a deadlift. It's very demanding per rep, which is why deadlifts, when programmed appropriately, should really be kept at a lower volume. Deadlifting isn't just physically demanding, it carries with it a huge cognitive load as well. And there's so much neural fatigue, so much fatigue on your nervous system per repetition, and it's compounding, right? You do a set of 5, which is challenging. The difference between what rep 5 feels like compared to rep 1 can be immense. More so than any other exercise. Huge demand on the nervous system, very compounding in its difficulty. It's going to feel subjectively super duper hard, but if you film yourself, watch it back afterwards, and you look at the objective feedback versus the subjective experience you just went through, and you're like, oh, okay. That doesn't look anywhere near as hard as it felt, right? If you just went on the subjective experience, you're going to make decisions loading wise, volume wise, and probably coddle yourself more than you should. You look at it objectively after the fact, you're like, oh, that's nowhere near as slow as I thought it was. That's moving a lot easier than I thought it was. If that was my training partner, I'd tell them lift something heavier because it's moving so easily. That's the sort of the objective lens you want to have, and using a phone, using a camera is such an easy tool to develop your own sensitivity, because unless you have that degree of feedback, if you're not working with a coach to give you that immediate feedback after you've done something, the decisions you make are going to be within your best interest, something that you think is good, and it's just not going to be as accurate or as good as it could be.
Right. So this is why I ask you guys to film your videos. This is why I ask you guys to film your videos, right? So that you can send them to me and I can say, right, now we can go heavier. Okay. But I really, really encourage you guys, okay, to film your sets for squat, bench, and deadlift. And then rather than just bank them for me, watch them back during the rest break. Look at them. So whenever I do a set on a deadlift, I go away and I watch the video. Same for squat and bench. I watch the video and I see how quickly it moves. And it might feel like dog shit, but when I go back and look at the video, I'm like, I could put more weight on, you know? So don't allow yourself to be held back. Send the video to me and I'll either say higher or lower, right? Super important, because when we're actually doing it, it feels very heavy. But you watch it back and it floats, okay? So I just wanted to share that with you guys, a little bit more value. I'm conscious of time, like you've all stuck with me an extra 10 minutes. Huge thank you, guys. Thank you very much for staying on board with me. And I really hope that you all kind of got some value from that as well, and something to think about. I am going to be out of the country on Sunday. So just bear with me in responses, okay? I'll always aim to get back to you guys ASAP as quickly as I possibly can. And whilst I'm away, nothing stops spinning, okay? So please drop me messages in questions, videos, if you have any concerns, or maybe you just want to catch up, okay? I'll be checking in with all of you. Crew reports as normal tomorrow. Have an amazing evening, and I'll speak with you all very soon. Cheers.